Our topic tonight is a fascinating one that will arouse and arrest attention, one that is very pertinent for the time in which we now live. It is Imam Mahdi and the end time. Let us begin with that hadith with which you are all familiar. You know which one? The 10 major signs of the last day. And if you've not memorized it as yet, I suggest that you memorize it before you leave the masjid tonight. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ were sitting, talking amongst themselves, when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ came and asked, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "O Messenger of Allah, we are talking about the subject of the alamat as-sa'a, the signs of the last day, of the end time." And then he said, as only a prophet could say, the last day would not come until, and then he mentioned 10 signs. These have come to be known as the major signs. I don't know who coined that term, but there are many, many others beside these 10. For example, when next you go to KLCC, you'll see some of these. He said that the naked, barefooted shepherds, they don't like this language at all. The naked, barefooted shepherds will be competing with each other in the construction of tall buildings. In other words, an age will come when men will measure progress not by how faithful you are to Allah and His Messenger, not whether you are following Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam or following Dajjal. No, they will measure progress by how tall a building we can build. Let those who have eyes open their eyes and see, and those who have hearts use their hearts to understand. He said that women would be dressed and would yet be naked. And so next time you go out and you see them like that, your heart should shiver with fear. How did he know it? 1400 years ago in the desert, a man who never traveled the world, how did he know that an age will come when women will abandon the hijab? How did he know that women would be dressed and yet be naked? And there are so many more. But tonight, we return to those 10 which are known as the major signs. Number one, and they have not been given in the chronological sequence in which they will occur. No. Number one, Dajjal, the false Messiah, Al-Masih al-Dajjal. Number two, Gog and Magog, and I have just written a book on Gog and Magog. It's the last book I wrote, an Islamic view of Gog and Magog in the modern world, and I want someone, tonight I'm asking you, to translate this to Bahasa. Come on, somebody. Number three, the return of the son of Mary, Ibn Maryam. And so when that fellow in a place called Qadian in India declared that he was the fulfillment of this prophecy, of the return of the Son of Mary, the true Messiah. You know which one I'm talking about? A man named Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, founder of the Ahmadiyya movement, with which Washington is so much in love, and London is so much in love, and Jerusalem is so much in love today. When he declared that he is the fulfillment of that prophecy of the return of the Son of Mary, we say to him, and I don't know why he runs away when we ask the question, how come you are the son of a Punjabi woman? Number 4, dukhan, smoke. And if you read this book on Gog and Magog, I have offered an opinion. And let me repeat it one more time. When Imran gives an opinion, never accept that opinion unless and until you are convinced that it is correct. But I have the right to offer an opinion, provided that I recognize that only Allah does not make mistakes. So we say, Allahu A'lam, Allah knows best. That this dukhan or smoke is coming. Maybe 20, 25 years from now, when the cataclysmic clash with nuclear weapons occurs between Gog and Magog, between the American-led alliance and the Russian-led alliance. And you don't need a PhD in international relations to know that we are moving towards that clash. Thousands of nuclear weapons exploding. Can you imagine the clouds, the mushroom clouds? Number 5, Dabbatul Ard, or the beast of the land. Ard is material universe. Ard is the earth. Ard is the land. For example, Al-Ardul Muqaddasa, the Holy Land. My opinion, that beast is already here. It's the state of Israel. And Allah knows best. Number 6, that the sun would rise from the west. I have given my opinion, and I have the right to give my opinion. Even if 999 differ with me, that's their right. Why deny me the right of offering my opinion? My opinion comes from the Quran. My primary source of guidance is from the Quran, not from some textbook of electricity and magnetism and polar magnetism. The Quran tells me that the sun rises from the east, and I gather that in Malaysia it also rises in the east. And the Quran tells me, La tabdila li khalqillah, that Allah's creation does not change. And so I have chosen to understand the hadith, not literally, but symbolically. That something is going to happen which would symbolize a false sunrise from the west. And I have understood that to be modern, godless, decadent, oppressive, awesomely deceptive Western civilization. And Allah knows best. Number 7, 8, and 9. 3 earthquakes resulting with movements of the earth, in which the earth sinks down, khas, and swallows what it swallows. One in the east, one in the west, and the third one in Arabia, and the third one is linked with Imam Mahdi. And number 10, that a fire will come out of Yemen and drive people to their place of assembly. Of these 10, the Quran singles out one. And Allah says of that one, the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. It can be read that way, or لَعَلَمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. It can also be read that way. Perhaps that ilm and alam here are synonymous. Ilm means knowledge, alam means sign. That this is the sign of all signs. The return of the son of Mary, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, the most powerful voice in history ever to have prophesied the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, the return of Jesus, is the voice of Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Even if we did not have the ahadith, it is still possible, using the Quran alone, to establish belief in the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. And so if you reject belief in the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, you will not be able to understand the end time. No. No matter how great a scholar you may be. There is a branch of knowledge which studies and explains the end time. In Bahasa, in Malayu, you call it ilmu akhirul zaman. And in the English language, we call it Islamic eschatology. Don't bother with the big word. Islamic eschatology. Since we now have the tall buildings, I don't know whether you have missed it. If you have, take a taxi to KLCC, you'll see it. The evidence is there as plain as daylight that we're now living in the end times. And so it is Islamic eschatology which will explain the world today, not the New Straits Times, and not your local television station, not even your government. It is Islamic eschatology which will explain the world today. And at the heart of Islamic eschatology, or ilmu akhirul zaman, is the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. Let me repeat that if you reject belief in the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, you can't guide Muslims in this age. No. Because you cannot yourself understand the reality of the world in the end time. We now turn to a hadith in Sahih Bukhari. In which Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam said, and it is a very short hadith, you can memorize it before you leave the masjid tonight. Kayfa antum? How will you be at that time? Oh, what a wonderful time that would be. إِذَا نَزَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ نُ مَرْيَمَ, when the son of Mary will descend amongst you. Oh, so he's not descending in Rome. Oh no. When the son of Mary descends amongst you, whether they like it or whether they don't, when Jesus comes back, he's coming to us. He's descending amongst Muslims. كيف أنتم إذا نزل عليكم ابن مريم وإمامكم منكم. And at that time, your Imam would be from within your own ranks. He would be a Muslim. And so there is an Imam in the end time. And the advent of that Imam, I'm going to use another big word now. First one was eschatology. The advent of that Imam will be contemporaneous. Long word, huh? Contemporaneous, meaning at the same time with the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. The advent of that Imam would be at the same time with the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. But he would have to come before. And then after he has come, then Nabi Isa alayhi salam will come. Who is that Imam who will emerge in the end time? And who is an Imam? And what will be the implications of the emergence of an Imam at that time? These are fascinating questions. We have to simply leave Sahih Bukhari and go to Sahih Muslim, and we get the answer that Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam prophesied that that Imam would be known as Imam Mahdi, the rightly guided Imam. And we also are told that he is going to be from the seed of Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, from his daughter Fatima radiyallahu ta'ala anha. So he's going to be an Arab. I don't think he can be an Indonesian. Huh? Or Malaysian. He has to be an Arab, eh? Okay. This Imam who will emerge at the time when Nabi Isa alayhi salam is to return is not only from the seed of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, but we also have a description of his physical features, a broad forehead and a large nose and so on. And we also know something about his functions. That at that time the world will be filled with oppression. Well, it has already come. Modern Western civilization has now been hijacked to deliver to the world more oppression than mankind has ever witnessed. And yet there are those who have eyes and yet cannot see. And their Qibla is in Washington. And they long to get a green card and a US passport. So I say, please go and don't come back. Please go and don't come back. You don't belong to us. You belong to the Jamaat of the oppressors. At that time there will be oppression in the world, all over the world. And this man, will break those chains of oppression and bring justice to the world. So this is going to be a revolutionary change to transform a world filled with oppression to a world of justice and of peace. And then the world would experience what Islam has to offer. This would be an Imam who would come at a time of great poverty and destitution in the world. Well, it has already come. All those who stand up to Dajjal are today miserably poor. And all those who are faithfully following Dajjal are living in the comfort zone. That's what the Prophet prophesied. But when the Imam comes, he's going to share wealth to the people. Would it be US dollars? The last thing I heard about the US dollar was that it was in ICU in some hospital. Would it be the French francs or the Malaysian ringgit? Come on, wake up and stop this nonsense. Stop this nonsense. If you did not know it before, maybe tonight you should start to learn. That knowledge may enter into your head. The money that we are now using has come from Dajjal. If you have not studied international monetary economics, come to me and I'll teach it to you. The money that we are now using has come from Dajjal. The paper currencies have come from Dajjal. The electronic money which is taking over from the paper currencies have come from Dajjal. And they're functioning as an instrument, not only for the unjust transfer of wealth from the unsuspecting masses to a global predatory elite, but more than that. They're bringing a system of slavery upon the world, enslaving mankind. And Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam prophesied that in the end time there will be slavery. He said a slave woman, you remember? Don't you? He said a slave woman will give birth to her mistress. We have a conference in PWTC on Tuesday and Wednesday. If you can take 2 days off, leave, come join us. There's a flyer outside about the conference. It is on the prohibition of riba in Islam. Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam told us that Imam is going to share wealth. Which kind of money? Oh, you know it. I don't have to tell you. It's the money which is in the Quran. When last did you open the Quran and look in the Quran to see whether there's money in the Quran? Huh? Is the dinar in the Quran? Yes, it is. Is the dirham in the Quran? Yes, it is. That's bad news for some of you who have neglected the Quran. And so he's going to share dinar and dirham, money that Allah ordained to be used as money. And if we had been using that money, Indonesia would not be miserably poor today. And Egypt would not be miserably poor today. And Bangladesh and Pakistan and Afghanistan would not be miserably poor today. And Africa would not be miserably poor today. He will share that money to such an extent that no one would be willing to accept zakat. What a world that is going to be tomorrow. This Imam is called Imam, but the word Imam here is synonymous with Amir or leader. So he is not only Imamul Mahdi, he is Amirul Mu'mineen, the leader of the believers. So would he be the head of the Egyptian Muslims alone? And you have another one for the Malay? Another one for the Indonesians? Huh? Or is he going to be the leader of all Muslims? Come on, answer me today. Answer me today. You know, he prophesied about the end time, that knowledge will disappear. Knowledge will disappear. And here's the evidence. That when that Imam comes, he is going to be Amirul Mu'mineen. So then what are you going to do with your Egyptian citizenship and your Egyptian passport? I don't want to go further than that. What are you going to do with your constitution of Egypt and your Syrian constitution, your pledge of loyalty to the state? Huh? What are you going to do? I know what we are going to do. We never gave up in our heart. We never gave up in our hearts loyalty to the Imam and to the Amir. No, we never gave it up because we never accepted the substitute. And we will never accept the substitute. He's also known not only as Imam, not only as Amir al-Mu'mineen, but also as Khalifa. Khalifa. And this brings us to our difference of opinion with the Shia. We hold the view that the Shia are Muslims. Oh yes. And we gave evidence to support that. There is no fatwa which has achieved ijma'a. No. Because the Shia have performed the Hajj continuously to this day. No one has stopped them. And so the ijma' of the ummah is that the Shia are Muslims. And if they are Muslims, then you have to relate to them as brothers. Ruhama'u baynahum. And if you differ with them, you must differ in a way which is constructive and not destructive. We say that the first Amir, the first Imam, the first Khalifa was Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And then after him was Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And after him was Uthman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And after him was Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And we have said and we have not spoken with hostility and bitterness and enmity. We have spoken with sadness in our hearts. That if you declare of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that he was a usurper who stole somebody else's position, we say that you are misguided. If you're annoyed with us, what can we do? But facts are facts. And we say that if you say that Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was also a usurper, we say that's double misguidance. And if you compound that by saying that Uthman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu was also misguided, we say, come on, it's time to wake up from your sleep. And we're not speaking these words with bitterness and with anger and with hostility. We're speaking these words with sadness. And it's because we call them the khulafa that we say that the Imam who is to come will also be Khalifa. What is the implication now of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sending to us a Khalifa and saying to him that he will be from within your own ranks? كيف أنتم إذا نزل عليكم مريم وإمامكم منكم, and your Imam will now be from within your own ranks. Very clearly to me, this hadith is anticipating a time will come when we will no longer have khilafah. No. That we will be ruled by those who are not Muslims. There is no authentic Islamic rule anywhere in the world today. Because those who rule us are not Muslims. Where's the evidence? When last did you take up the Charter of the United Nations Organization? And if you are in Iran and you listen to this lecture, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Take up the Charter of the United Nations Organization and open it and read, I believe it is 24 and 25. But I can be mistaken. I've been traveling for 5 months now, so I can make mistakes. It could be 24 and 25 or 25 and 26. Where the Charter of the United Nations says, in effect, that in all matters pertaining to international peace and security, Allah is not Al-Akbar. No. The Security Council of the United Nations is Al-Akbar, meaning there is no authority above it. That is shirk. And so once you are a member of the United Nations organization, your Amir al-Mu'mineen, your Khalifa, your leader, your ruler, ultimate ruler is the Security Council of the United Nations. And so you can call yourself an Islamic Republic, like Pakistan used to do before it became an American Republic. And I don't say this to ridicule the Pakistani people, because I studied in Pakistan. And my heart beats with the people of Pakistan who are imprisoned in Pakistan because they don't have the freedom to choose their own leader. Their leader is chosen in Washington by the Zionists. And so, a time is going to come when we will be ruled by those who are not from within our own ranks. So you had Amir al-Mu'mineen George Bush. But that's not going to last forever. No. When Imam Mahdi comes, that's goodbye to the substitute that they gave us for the Khilafah. Dajjal gave us the modern secular state. And the modern secular state has replaced the Khilafah. And all of mankind, illa masha'Allah, have pledged their allegiance to the modern secular state, loyal to the modern secular state and to its constitution. And as a consequence have said goodbye to Allah and to the Khilafah. But you and I have not done that. In our hearts we are faithful to Allah and to His Messenger. And in our hearts we are faithful to Islam's model of a political state, the Khilafah. And in our hearts we long for that day when the Imam will emerge and the Khilafah will be restored. Is it possible for the Khilafah to be restored before the Imam emerges? There is a hadith in Sahih Muslim that a Khalifa will die and there will be disagreement concerning succession. I think you already guessed who it's going to be. There will be disagreement concerning succession. And then a man will emerge out of Medina. Remember Medina, not Jakarta, Medina. And he will hurry to Mecca. And the people of Mecca will come out to him and urge him and try to force him to accept the bay'ah. No, we have problem here. We have heard this word for years and years and years and years. The word bay'ah has been put in something called cold storage. So we got to go to the cold storage now and pull it out. What is this bay'ah? It is the pledge of allegiance which legitimizes the role of the Khalifa. That is bay'ah, and it is an institution that is located in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. When he accepts the bay'ah, at that time he will confirm and proclaim himself to be Imam Mahdi. Now then, I made this comment, and I did not make this comment in any disrespectful way. No, I was merely speaking facts. And if Imran is not allowed to speak facts, what should he talk about? I said that Makkah has never been a Shia city. Is that true or is that false? Tell me. I never said that there are no Shia in Saudi Arabia, and now you come to hit me with a left uppercut for something I never said. Please have some respect for your own intellect and don't quote people wrongly. What I said is that Makkah has never been a Shia city. Is that true or is that false? There is nothing to suggest to us that that situation will change in the future and that Makkah will transform itself and become a Shia city. There is no evidence to support that. And therefore we ask, how can a people of Makkah who are not Shia, how can they go out and pledge allegiance to a Shia? If you have an answer, I'd be happy to get the answer. You can send me an email. And I am not wearing any boxing gloves. No, this is not the age for that. This is a reasoned discourse that is being presented tonight. And so I conclude that the Imam cannot be Shia. This is my conclusion. If you differ with me, that does not mean that we should have boxing gloves fighting each other. No. Now then, the argument is raised that because the Prophet ﷺ used the word Khalifa, a Khalifa will die. The implication is that the Khilafah will be restored before the advent of Imam al-Mahdi. But have you forgotten that hadith with which we began? كيف أنتم إذا نزل عليكم ابن مريم وإمامكم منكم? Why should the Prophet ﷺ say to us that this Imam will be from your own ranks when we already have the Khilafah? It has already been restored and our Imams are already from our own ranks. Why should he say that? My understanding is that the hadith is clear that prior to the advent of Imam al-Mahdi, it is not possible to restore the Khilafah. No. And therefore, when the word Khalifa is used, a Khalifa will die. The Prophet ﷺ is referring to a Muslim ruler. Who could it be? Oh, the answer is clear. It has to be a Saudi king. Because there are 5,000 princes out there waiting, struggling, fighting to take over. And there's already sufficient evidence of internal conflicts and rivalries within the big Saudi clan. So, a Saudi king will die. It can't be Fahad because he's already dead. Would it be Abdullah? I don't think so. And I'll let you know why in a moment. When that Saudi king dies and there is disagreement concerning succession, it is at that time that Allah will send the Imam. Is the Imam born already? This is not arrogance on my part. No. When I say, I don't know and I don't want to know. So please don't send me emails asking me whether the Imam has been born already. What is important is that Allah places a cover and Allah conceals him. And no one knows that he is the Imam until that moment arrives. When the king, the Khalifa dies, and there is disagreement and so on, then he proclaims himself to be the Imam. Until that moment, we don't know who is the Imam. So is he born already? No, come on. I don't know and I don't want to know. Having disposed of these questions, now what are the implications of the advent of the Imam? The first and major implication of the advent of the Imam is that the substitute that Dajjal had created to replace the Khilafah, that substitute, your modern state, will now return to the garbage bin of history from where it came out in the first place. Why do I use such harsh language? What is the Khilafah state? The Khilafah state is a state established for the first time by Nabi Dawood alayhi salam in the Holy Land, the holy state of Israel, restored in Medina by Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. The Khilafah state is a state which recognizes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as Al-Malik. Al-Malik. They translate Al-Malik as the king, whereas in political terminology, it should be translated as the sovereign. So sovereignty in the Khilafah state resides with Allah. The modern secular state which came from Dajjal says, no, no. Allah is not Al-Malik. Sovereignty does not reside with Allah. Sovereignty resides with the state. The state is sovereign. The people are sovereign, not the Lord who created them. You don't need a PhD to understand that that is shirk. And that's the one sin that Allah will never forgive. For those of us who just have a few steps left before the grave, it's a wake-up call for us to make tawbah before it's too late. The Khilafah state recognizes Allah's authority as supreme. He is Al-Akbar. The modern secular state says, no, the authority of the state is supreme. There is no authority above the state. And the states are all organized under the United Nations organization. And the United Nations organization has at its top the Security Council. And the authority of the Security Council of the United Nations is Al-Akbar. not Allah. Dajjal created that. And instead of worshipping Allah, we are worshipping Dajjal. The Khilafah state says that Allah is Al-Hakam, the supreme lawmaker. His law is the supreme law. And when He says haram, no one can make it halal. And when He says halal, no one can make it haram. And in Surah At-Tawbah, there is a verse of the Quran which declares that to be shirk, to legalize and make legal what Allah has made haram. That is shirk. The modern secular state says, no, Allah is not Al-Hakam. Parliament is Al-Hakam. Parliament makes the law. And the law that comes from Parliament and the law that comes from the United Nations is the supreme law. The modern secular state says more than that. If I am wrong, would you kindly correct me? The modern secular state says that Allah can make it haram, but we can make it halal. And everything, or almost everything, because we have not reached New York as yet. In New York, they now legalize the marriage of a man with a man. In New York, they have now legalized the marriage of a man with a man, and yet you want this, you want your green card, to become an American citizen, So go and stay there and never come back. Those are your people, not ours. The modern secular state says Allah can make it haram, but we can legalize it. Shall I give you some examples? Would you be interested? Yes. Did you know that Allah prohibited money being lent on interest? Did you know that? Huh? You know that? And did you know that Allah has declared war? War? On the money lender lending money on interest? Did you know that? And did you know that Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam has cursed all four and declared that they are all equally guilty? The one who takes riba, the one who gives riba, the one who records the transaction, and the two witnesses? Did you know that he said that riba is constituted of 70 different parts? Hadith of Ibn Majah. That riba is constituted of 70 different parts, and the smallest part of riba is equivalent to a man marrying his own mother. And do you know what the modern secular state has done? Even in Saudi Arabia, all around the world, they've made it halal. Don't believe me? There's something called a bank outside there in Subang Jaya. Go and ask them whether they lend money on interest. Ask them whether it is haram or halal in Malaysia to lend money on interest. Go and ask them. I can go on and on and on and on. This is a substitute for the Khilafah. But let me say something more. In the Khilafah state, so long as we Muslims have control over territory, that territory is designated Darul Islam. Now look at that. That's another term I have to take out of the cold storage. You better keep the lid open for me. Darul Islam. And in Darul Islam, every Muslim has the right to enter. All that you have to do is to declare La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and you have the right to enter. You don't need a visa. In Darul Islam, every Muslim has the right to enter. You don't need a visa. So Indonesia is 90-something% Muslim. So I go to Indonesia, I present myself before the immigration officer, I raise my hand, say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Immigration officer looks at me. Where has this fellow come from? He says, where's your visa? Show me your visa. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah can't work here. Are you understanding the situation? In Darul Islam, every Muslim has the right to reside. You don't need a PR, it's called, permanent residence, PR. Huh? Very difficult, eh? PR. No. Once you're a Muslim, you have the right to reside. In Darul Islam, every Muslim has the right to seek his livelihood. You don't need a work permit. I told you, he said, that in the end times, knowledge will disappear. This knowledge has disappeared to such an extent that now some people cannot even digest it. They don't agree with it. No. In Darul Islam, every Muslim has the right to participate in the political process. The political process in Islam is called Shura, on the basis of equality with all other Muslims. You don't need citizenship. This is Darul Islam. That substitute has divided us, broken up Darul Islam, and replaced it with something that is very bad. Let me use a soft language. Very bad. Very bad. And so in 1988, when I came to Malaysia for the first time, I was the principal of the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies in Pakistan. And the Muslim, what is it called? An Islamic organization in England, Muslim Institute for Research and Planning, founded by our dear brother Dr. Karim Siddiqui rahimahullah. May Allah have mercy on the soul of our dear brother. The Muslim Institute in London and Party Islam in Malaysia combined to organize a seminar in Hajj, on Hajj. And I was chosen to come from Pakistan to be one of the speakers in that seminar. And I said that it is wrong to take the Islamic movement and register it as a political party and fight elections under the constitution of a modern state that has come from Dajjal. PAS was not too happy with me. No. The same thing was done in Pakistan by Maulana Maududi rahimahullah with the Jamaat Islami. The same thing was done in the Arab world, the movement founded by Hassan al-Banna rahimahullah, the Ikhwan al-Muslimun. That you take the Islamic movement, you register it as a political party, and you fight in elections under a constitution of a state created by Dajjal, built on the foundations of shirk. That is not the Sunnah. Well then what is the Sunnah? And what is the guidance from the Quran? When you studied this book on Gog and Magog, when you studied Ilmu Akhirul Zaman, Islamic Eschatology, and my book entitled Jerusalem in the Quran, most of you probably already read this book. It was written 10 years ago. It qualifies as the textbook on Islamic eschatology, and we now have it in Bahasa. We have it in Bahasa outside. When you study the subject of ilmu akhir zaman, then you understand that the proper response to Dajjal, Dajjal's money, Dajjal's economy based on riba, Dajjal's political system based on the modern secular state and its shirk, and the Security Council of the United Nations as Al-Akbar, the proper response is to flee from Dajjal. To flee from Dajjal. And to try to restore the micro-khilafah wherever you can. Until the time comes when the macro-khilafah can be restored, when Imam Mahdi comes. That micro-khilafah I have described as the Muslim kampung, the Muslim village. And I know that I'm out of Dajjal's reach when I go to a kampung where I cannot use a cell phone. Now I know I'm out of his reach. Over there, we will try as best as we can to restore dinar and dirham as money in the market. And we will not use this bogus and fraudulent and utterly haram paper and electronic money. In that kampung, we'll try to restore the Amir and the Bay'ah. And we will refuse to give our allegiance to the modern secular state. And we say this is micro-khilafah, waiting for macro-khilafah when Imam Mahdi comes. This is not a place where you will be opting out of jihad. Oh no. The baby boys who are born in this kampung will fight better on the battlefield from Khorasan in the Muslim army that will liberate the Holy Land. The baby boys born in this kampung will fight like lions, much better than yours from KLCC. So the Muslim kampung is not a place to go and sleep. Now then, we come to a very unfortunate event. One of the outstanding scholars of this age, and now my remarks are directed particularly to Pakistan. One of the outstanding Islamic scholars of this age was a man named Dr. Muhammad Iqbal. I recognize him as a great scholar, and I recognize him as a great poet. Unfortunately, my knowledge of the Farsi language and the Urdu language is not good enough to appreciate the beauty of his poetry. But I don't have any problems with his poetry. What the problem that I have is with what he has written in the English language. And I have more than a passing acquaintance with the English language. Dr. Iqbal argued in a book which he published entitled The Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam, which most Pakistanis have not read. And those who do try to read it probably give up before they finish 2 or 3 pages, because you need a whole bottle of Tylenol tablets for headache. Iqbal is writing pure philosophy. I have a master's degree in philosophy, and for me, it's a headache. So much less for you. I admire the first 2 chapters a lot, because in the first 2 chapters of that book, he takes on Dajjal. You know, the one eye and the 2 eyes? The epistemology of the modern West. And Iqbal has delivered the best defense of the epistemology of the Quran that has ever been written. But very few people can understand it. So those first two chapters are written in gold. But elsewhere, Iqbal has made this mountain of a mistake in declaring that the modern state, he calls it the Republican state. Actually, it's a secular state. The modern state, he says, can function as a substitute for the Khilafah. That's wrong. And if we say that our teacher made a mistake, we are not disrespecting our teacher. No. He still remains a great scholar. We still respect him. We are not disrespecting him when we say that this Iqbal has made a mountain of a mistake in declaring that the modern secular state with its parliament can be a substitute for the Khilafah. Iqbal then compounded that error by agreeing with Ibn Khaldun that all the ahadith on Imam Mahdi are all fabricated. Now don't come and tell me what Iqbal has said in Urdu poetry. No, don't come and tell me that. I know what he said in Urdu poetry. We're talking about what he said in English. And the impact of Iqbal's thought on the Pakistani intelligentsia. Iqbal does not believe in the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. No. Iqbal does not believe in Dajjal. No. I ask you, how can you beat the drums of Iqbal in Pakistan today to extricate Pakistan from the mess in which it is? He is not the answer. Yes, there is much we can learn from him. Yes, Iqbal can inspire our people with his Urdu verse. But Iqbal in English is not the guide to take the Pakistani people out of the awesome predicament in which they are. And so I wrote this book, Iqbal and Pakistan's Moment of Truth. I want the cameras to capture it. Because tonight in Masjid Al-Ihsan in Subang Jaya, we are launching this book for the first time. It is only 84 pages. So you could finish it in one weekend. And in this book, I have attempted very respectfully, how many times am I to repeat it? I have attempted very respectfully to critically assess the thought of a great scholar and to point out errors which he has made, while yet respecting him as a great scholar. Now then, when Imam Mahdi emerges, at that time, the Gog and Magog war will take place. This book explains it. An Islamic view of Gog and Magog in the modern world, and one person will have to come forward and volunteer to translate it to Bahasa, inshallah. At that time, the clash takes place between the American-led alliance, the Russian-led alliance. The nuclear war takes place with thousands of nuclear weapons exploding. I think that will be the moment when this verse of Suratul Isra will be fulfilled. Suratul Isra, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the warning, وَإِن مِّن قَرْيَةٍ إِلَّا نَحْنُ مُهْلِكُوهَا قَبْلَ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ أَوْ مُعَذِّبُوهَا عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا كَانَ ذَلِكَ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَسْطُورًا. It is as though you're hearing the verse for the first time. because you've never heard the verse in the context in which it's being given now. And not a single city will escape. None. They will all be destroyed, says Allah. All. And those which escape destruction will be punished with terrible punishment. And this is a matter inscribed in the Kitab. Maybe that if you're out of electronic range, you know, the cell phone, you will not be incinerated. This is the end of modern Western civilization dominance over the world. Maybe another 20, 25 years, that's all we have to endure. This is the end of the modern secular state and all the patriotism it demands of us. And this is the time when Darul Islam will be restored, whether they like it or whether they don't. This is the time when the Khilafah will be restored. This is the time when Imam Mahdi will rule over us. The Shia who follow him at that time are our brothers. The Sunni who follow him at that time, I don't think there'll be many Sunnis following him. They're going to say, he's a terrorist. Our brothers. And so Shia and Sunni, both following the Imam, will constitute the Ummah of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. When will that happen? How much time is there left? Let us attend to this and we'll then end the lecture. Imam al-Mahdi cannot emerge until Allah ordains that he must emerge. So no government has charge over this. When will Allah ordain that he must emerge? Because as soon as he emerges, he's going to head for Mecca and he's going to proclaim himself the Imam. An army will then march against him from Sham. And that army, as it crosses Medina, going south to Mecca, will be swallowed by the third khas. One in the east, one in the west, one in Arabia. When that army is swallowed by the earth, that is the validation. That is the conclusive validation that this man is indeed the Imam. Not eclipses in the sky. The sinking of the earth. When that army sinks down into the earth and is swallowed, then the Abdal from Sham and Al-Iraq will come to the Imam to offer bay'ah. The Sufis have hijacked this word, Abdal. So I got to take it back from them. I got to take it back from them. And they say that the Abdal are some mysterious people. There are always only 40 of them and so on, and they have the bowl in their hands and so on. No. Abdal means when one dies, another one replaces him. This one dies, another one replaces him. This one dies, another one replaces him. The Abdal. So if you're listening, Washington, let us introduce you to the Abdal. When you don't have any more money to buy people from, white people from South Africa to go and fight for you in Iraq and in Afghanistan, you know, white South Africans. When you have no more money to offer bribes of green card and citizenship to get people to go and join the American army, to go and kill Muslims. You're running out of soldiers. I want you to know, Washington, that we will never run out. We will never run out. Because when one dies, another one takes his place. And when he dies, another one takes his place. These are the words of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. These are the abdal. They are the mujahideen who are waging a just struggle for liberation from oppression and liberation from occupation of the land. They will now come to give the bay'ah to Imam al-Mahdi. Imam will now be attacked from an army of the Quraysh, said the Prophet ﷺ. An army of the Kalb, and he will defeat that army. Would it be a Saudi army? Looks very much like that to me. Looks very much like that to me, but Allah knows best. When he defeats that army, then Jaziratul Arab, oh, another term out of the cold storage. See, good thing we left the door open, eh? Jaziratul Arab, when last did you hear that term? Jaziratul Arab is the Arabian Peninsula. Today it has been hijacked, and there is an obnoxious name called the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Squatting. So there will be no more Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It is Jaziratul Arab will be restored. And when Jaziratul Arab is liberated, then Darul Islam is restored. This is the implication. Now tell me, would you release Imam al-Mahdi into the world when the Zionists have read all of these ahadiths? They know it all. Would you release Imam al-Mahdi into the world before Israel replaces the United States as the ruling state? It doesn't make sense. No. Would you release Imam al-Mahdi into the world before Israel rules the world? And Dajjal is in his day, which is like a week. You have to read this book, Jerusalem in the Quran, to understand that. Israel is about to launch a big wars, either this year or next year, attacking Pakistan to destroy the nuclear plants and nuclear weapons, attacking Iran, attacking Egypt so you can occupy the territory from the river Nile to the river Euphrates. If you want to know why, there's a book outside entitled The Religion of Abraham and the State of Israel, a view from the Quran. My view, and Allah knows best, is that Allah will not release Imam al-Mahdi into the world until Dajjal has completed his mission, or he is very close to completion of his mission. And so Dajjal has to be born. He has to be born of Jewish parents. He's not been born as yet. But he's already created modern Western civilization because he's already released into the world. He's already released into the world. He's close to the end of his mission, but he's not as yet been born as a human being. When he's born as a human being, he'll be a Jew. He'll grow up to be a young man, he'll be powerfully built, he'll have curly hair. He'll rule the world from Jerusalem. And then he will proclaim, I am the Messiah, Al-Mahdi, Al-Masih. And when they accept him, Al-Masih, he can rub his hands and he can say, come on, help me. Mission accomplished. I've given them a 6 for a 9, I've deceived them. And now they've been taken to the greatest destruction that they will ever experience in history. Banu Israel. And so by my calculation, and Allah knows best, we are still probably another 20, 25 years away before that event occurs when Imam al-Mahdi will emerge. Finally, I want to remind you about the conference on riba. There's a book on riba outside, and there's this little book, you have no excuse, it's so small. The gold dinar and silver dirham, Islam and the future of money. Many people have been asking, where did Imran Hosein study? Who was his teacher? What kitab did he read? Because we don't hear anybody else speaking like this. If you want to know more about me, you can begin by reading this very interesting book, the Islamic Travelogue, which is outside. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا يَا مَوْلَانَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ بِرَحْمَتِكَ يَا أَرْحَمَ الرَّاحِمِينَ Ameen. We have some time for questions. Sisters, you can write your questions and send them up. And brothers, yes, go ahead. Walaikum salam. The question is, in my opinion, how does Dajjal communicate and give orders to his followers? At the very end of the Quran, Allah warns us about الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ مِنَ الْجِنَّةِ وَالنَّاسِ. It is inspiring or putting thoughts and ideas into the heart, and as a consequence these people believe that these are their own thoughts. He does this through the shayateen. Shayateen, plural of shaitan. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, وَيُبْعَثُ مَعَهُ الشَّيَاطِينَ, that the shayateen are going to be raised with Dajjal. This hadith in Kanzul Ummal. The shayateen are going to be raised with Dajjal. And these shayateen, plural of shaitan, the jinn, these shayateen are going to do something very interesting. يُشَبِّهُونَ بِالْأَمْوَاتِ. They're going to take the form of human beings who died. Your father died 40 years ago. And lo and behold, here is your father standing in front of you. He has the face, the appearance, the shape, everything of your father. He has your father's voice. He has your father's mind. He speaks to you as only your father could speak. يُشَبِّهُونَ بِالْأَمْوَاتِ يَقُولُونَ لِلْحَيِّ, and they will then speak to those who are alive. تَعْرِفُنِي, what's wrong, my son? Can't you recognize me? أَنَا أَبُوك, I am your father. أَنَا أَخُوك, I am your brother. أَوْ ذُو قَرَابَةٍ مِّنْ, or some close relative. From this hadith we know the link between Dajjal and the shayateen. That's why there's so many of them in Washington. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes. Assalamu.
You mentioned in your talk,
Yes.
Imam Mahdi and Nabi Isa will be there at the same time.
Yes.
Almost the same time.
Yeah. One before the other.
Yeah. So they live together
Yeah.
in that time.
Yes.
My question is, who is going to be the Amir?
The Amir is the Imam. He is the... We get some help actually in this matter from information which was sent down before Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. This information was sent to Banu Israel. And I have it here at the back of this book. In the appendix to Jerusalem in the Quran, you will find it there, where the Jewish scriptures speak about a worldly figure and a priestly figure who will be contemporaneous. One is going to be the political ruler, ruling, enforcing the law and so on, Sharia, and the other would be the priestly ruler. So Al-Masih, Nabi Isa alayhi salam Al-Masih, he is the priestly ruler. And Imam Mahdi is the second one, who is the worldly ruler. They knew about this in Medina, the rabbis. So when Nabi Muhammad ﷺ arrived in Medina, they asked him, "Are you the Messiah?" He said, "No." "Are you that other one?" The other one meaning the one who will come, who will be the political ruler, the ruler of the world. He said, "No." "Who are you?" "We want to know, who are you?" Because they were expecting a prophet to come who would be, they were thinking, would be the Messiah. So the answer to your question is that Imam al-Mahdi would be Khalifa. And Nabi Isa alayhi salam would be Nabi. Yes. Wa Islam. Oh, I forgot I should have mentioned the question. The question that he asked was, since Nabi Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, and Imam al-Mahdi are at the same time, who is going to rule? That was his question. Yes, go ahead.
You mentioned that the Dajjal will be born as a Jew, brought to rule to us. And you put a hadith from the Prophet that mentions that. At the same time, how do you explain the story of Imam Mahdi when he became a Muslim and came to the Prophet and he said that his ship were landing on an island and they met actually with the Dajjal?
It's 25 past 9. I'm going to take another 10-15 minutes to answer you. I have devoted some of this book to that subject. He's asking about the hadith of Tamim ad-Dari in Sahih Muslim, in which the Prophet ﷺ narrated an event which he heard from Tamim ad-Dari, where they went on an island and they met Dajjal. And he is saying that, well, there is the other hadith you quoted that he will be born. He's not yet born, and he'll be a Jew. So how could they meet him when he's not as yet born? Those who have read this book would know how to answer that question. Many of you here present can answer that question. When Dajjal is released, he will live on earth for 40 days. Yawmun kasana, a day which would be like a year. Yawmun kashahr, a day which would be like a month. Yawmun kajum'a, a day which would be like a week. Wasairu ayyamihi ka'ayyamikum, and all his days like your days, meaning all the rest of his days like your days. When his day is like our day, he would be in our world of time. No one can dispute that. When he is in our world of time, he will be in our world of space. Only at that time, therefore, would we be able to see him. But he can be on earth and not be in our world of space and time. Are there angels on the earth? Are there angels in Masjid Darul Ihsan in Subang Jaya? Oh yes, they are. Can you see them? No, you can't see them. I know you'll tell me that your wife is an angel and you can see her. Yes, our women are our angels. Allah's greatest gift to us are our women. We must honor them, we must respect them, we must treat them like angels, except when they start to follow Dajjal, then you part from them. Are there jinn on earth? Yes. Can we see them? No, but they're here. In the same way, Dajjal is here on earth. But you cannot see him. You will only see him at that time when he is born as a human being, grows up to rule from Jerusalem. And then he'll be a Jew. Any more questions? Yes? Oh, before Haji Radwan speaks, let us acknowledge, be grateful to him. Haji Radwan from Hotel de Palma in Ampang is the one responsible for organizing tonight's lecture. Yes, Haji?
You mentioned about the eventual takeover of United Nations by the Israel.
You mentioned about?
You mentioned about the eventual takeover of United Nations by the Israel.
Uh-huh.
Just now. Did you?
No, I think that the United Nations is going to die like the US dollar.
Whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to get some opinions. How do you interpret the present uprising or Nahda present happening taking place in the Peninsula Arab, and with the incomplete formation of the Israeli statehood, with the emergence of the Al-Mahdi?
Yeah, this is a very big subject, Haji Radwan. On the one hand, if you go to my website, imranhosein.org, you will see an essay entitled An Islamic Response to the Current Arab Uprisings. And in that response, I have commended and I have honored and respected those Arabs in Egypt and elsewhere who have risen up against the oppressor. Islam gives you the right to rise up against oppression. Islam gives you the right to rise up and to demonstrate against oppression. And that is what they did. And in doing that and doing it successfully, they have set a golden example for Pakistan. They've set a golden example for so many other parts of the world of Islam today which are in chains. You can't speak. But I have also mentioned that the uprisings which are now taking place are eventually going to facilitate Israel's big wars. Israel has to wage those wars in order to replace the United States as the next ruling state. But Dajjal does not want to wage war and appear as an aggressor. Dajjal wants that Israel should wage her wars and appear to be, we're only defending ourselves. And this thing that is happening now in Egypt and elsewhere, look where it's heading. The elections are going to take place in Egypt later this year, I believe. And you don't need a PhD to know what Washington wants. Washington wants Ikhwan al-Muslimun to win elections, of course. That's why Washington is talking to them now. And when they win the elections, the trap is set. What are you going to do about Gaza? You cannot be an Islamic government in Egypt and close the barrier to crossing. You have to support your people in Gaza. And so Israel could start crying out, terrorism, terrorism, terrorism from Egypt, and build the foundations for launching an attack. But there's more to it than that as well. Washington will be going down on its knees to beg Egypt, why don't you enforce the Sharia? Imagine that. Washington going down on its knees to beg Egypt. New York Times appealing to the Egyptian government, would you be so kind as to enforce the Sharia? I wonder why. And when the Islamic governments in the Arab world declare we are enforcing Sharia, well, Kalantana, I think you better prepare yourself. Eh? So then they'll spring I call it a time bomb. A time bomb is something that is wired to explode at a particular time when they choose to trigger it. So the time bomb will explode in Egypt when an Egyptian family will come before the Sharia court with their 6-year-old daughter. The child is 6 years of age. And this man who wants to marry her is 55. They're probably going to choose a very ugly looking man. And a nice, pretty looking child. And then the Sharia court is going to give jaiz, yes, permissible. It's permissible in Islam for this marriage to take place. Yeah. And then CNN and CNN's sister, you know the sister? Al Jazeera, yeah. And every television station in the world is going to capture that. And Muslims are going to become the laughing stock of the whole world. The laughing stock of the whole world. And you are angry with me because I point to that hadith in Sahih Bukhari and I say someone rewrote it? And you're going to be angry with me for that? And you're sending warnings to me? I am the one who should be warning you, rather than you warning me about declaring a hadith in Sahih Bukhari to be rewritten, to be fabricated. Nabi Muhammad ﷺ never, N-E-V-E-R, he never married Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. No marriage ceremony ever took place here on earth. Never. Don't you know there are two kinds of marriages? There are those marriages which are contracted here, and there are those which are contracted there. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you this is your wife, He has married you there. So you're going to have another marriage ceremony here? Huh? When He has married two of you, you don't have the freedom in the matter to say yes or no. Islam is submission to Allah. And He did it when she was 6. I asked myself, why did He send that vision to Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam? This is your wife. I've chosen her as your wife. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send that vision to him when she was only 6? Why? There must be a reason. And my answer is that it is for the same reason. It is for the same reason that He sent Maryam alayhi salam with a baby. She was never married. So He can distinguish between those who have 2 eyes and those who have only 1. Yes. And He could have done it, He could have sent the vision when she was not 6, she was 1 year of age. Or He could have sent it when she was 1 month old. He is the Lord. But because it is haram for a Muslim to have sexual relations with a girl until she has become a woman. And I have the verses of the Quran to prove it, but I would prefer not to use those verses in this public gathering. It's my choice. I prefer to do it in private. It is haram to have sexual relations with a girl before she's become a woman. Is there anyone who wants to challenge me? When will she become a woman in the context of the Quran and the law of marriage? In this context, not Dajjal. Dajjal, she becomes a woman when she's 25. That's Dajjal. Huh? But in the Quran, when she has reached the age of puberty, when she can now herself become pregnant and make a baby, she's no longer a child. She's now a woman. So she had to remain in her mother's home until that time. And when that time came, then she went to join her husband's household. Do you have a problem with that, Dajjal? What's wrong with this? Huh? This is what happened. So the hadith, when it says that he married her when she was 6, is false. It's false. He never married her when she was 6. He never married her at all. Never. It is Allah who informed him, this is your wife. He had no choice in the matter. But when the Sharia court in Egypt declares it's jaiz for a 55-year-old man to have a marriage ceremony with a 6-year-old girl, the Australian government is going to have a lot of problems. You know why? Every pedophile in Australia will want to become a Muslim. So there are time bombs. This is only one. This is only one. There are other time bombs waiting to explode. And I don't think that Jamiatul Azhar is capable of responding to those time bombs now. Allah blessed me with a great teacher. Allah blessed me with a great teacher. And that teacher gave me a different method of pursuing knowledge. This is why I'm able to deliver this knowledge to you today. Any more questions? Wa alaikum salam. You have a website in which you are collaborating with the arrivals, yeah? Okay. Your website explains Dajjal and the process of colonization, yeah? In this region? Okay.
My question is based on your input, is that we should hijrah. So when do we jihad?
Yeah. Jihad has already begun. Oh yeah. The armed struggle for liberation from oppression and occupation in Iraq, in Afghanistan, is the jihad which has already commenced. We don't need any fatwa declaring jihad. Saudi king gave a fatwa for jihad about 20, 30 years ago. I think they've put it into cold storage now. This jihad cannot be stopped. No one can stop it. And this jihad will continue until the prophecy of Nabi Muhammad ﷺ is fulfilled. That the army will come out of Khorasan, it will be unstoppable until it reaches Jerusalem. When a jihad is in force, Muslims have an obligation to support the jihad. Those who can physically join the jihad should do so. However, it would be a security risk for someone who only speaks French to go to Afghanistan and join the jihad. not only would he put his own life at risk, but he would put the lives of others at risk because of an incapacity to communicate. You have to be capable of communicating in the language spoken before you can join that jihad. But there are other ways of supporting the jihad. You can do it with your tongue. You can speak out. Of course, you're not going to get a US visa after that. You can support it with your wealth. You have so many ways that you can support the jihad. And when we call for a withdrawal to the remote countryside, that withdrawal is what is going to give us the freedom that we otherwise would not have, to either join the jihad or support the jihad. Next question? Yes. How to combat riba? Number one, you have to study the subject. So I hope to see you at PWTC on Tuesday morning. The flyers are outside. They put me on as the first speaker. I'm answering you. There are two forms of riba that must be recognized. One is the lending of money on interest. And the other would be a transaction based on deception, which delivers a gain or a profit to which one is not justly entitled. That's the elegant way of describing a rip-off. A rip-off. So this is riba and that is riba. The greatest rip-off that has ever occurred in human history is the rip-off of the monetary system that we now have, of bogus and fraudulent and utterly haram paper currencies and the electronic currency which is now taking over from the paper currency. What do you do? Answer, when you have abandoned the Quran and Sunnah, make tawbah and return to the Quran and Sunnah, meaning return to the dinar and dirham. Do you know that Israel, tomorrow, Israel is going to mint, in fact I think they've already minted the gold dinars and silver dirham, Israel. And tomorrow Israel is going to be using this money. Do you know that? Why would Israel have to do it? If you study ilmu akhirul zaman, you can answer these questions. Because every Jew knows that only that money can be used in the temple, which does not have any human figure on it. The Roman coins at the time of Nabi Isa alayhi salam were haram to be used in the temple because they had graven images which were haram. And so the temple at the time of Nabi Isa alayhi salam used to mint its own coins, gold and silver. And when the people came to the temple, if they wanted an animal to be zabiha, sacrificed, you got to pay for it. And nobody could sacrifice the animal except the rabbi. So therefore the temple got some revenue. So you had to pay the temple. And you had to pay the temple in this money which was halal, not that money which was haram. So when Dajjal stands up in Jerusalem tomorrow, and he has not brought back that halal money, no Jew will accept him as the Messiah. Which is why I believe that Israel has already minted her gold coins and silver coins so that these can be introduced before Dajjal makes his appearance. So that's the first thing you can do. Bring back the gold dinar and silver dirham as money. Can you do it in downtown KLCC? I'm not stopping you. You want to try, go ahead. It is my opinion, based on my study of Suratul Kahfi of the Quran. Now let me use the proper Arabic. Suratul Kahf of the Quran. That the only place that you can bring back the dinar and dirham as money in the market is in the remote countryside. And in those micro markets, we will not accept your paper money. No. Insofar as money being lent on interest is concerned, make tawbah if you have borrowed money on interest to buy your car or to buy your house. Make tawbah. Because if you die with that riba, there is no way you can enter into Jannah. Why? Because the curse of the Prophet is upon you. Get out of that riba. Sell the car, sell the house, pay the bank. When you try to do that, then you'll know what kind of snake there is in the bank. Yeah. And make tawbah and never again borrow or lend money on interest. Any more questions, or shall we stop now? 1, 2 more and then we finish, okay? 1, 2 and we finish, that's it. Come closer, come closer. And the other one, come up please. Come closer, come closer, come closer, don't be afraid of me. Right. Okay. When Israel wages her big wars, would that be the time when Muslims are going to make an alliance with Rome? That's a good question, eh? Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam has prophesied that you will make an alliance with Rome. Rome. Indeed, there is a surah of the Quran which is entitled Suratul Rum. And in that surah, in the first ayah, the first verse, Allah speaks about Rome being defeated. If you believe that the Prophet, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was referring to a city in Italy, you should buy a one-way ticket to Disneyland. Yeah. Go to Disneyland and live there, don't come back. That the Quran, when it says that Rome has been defeated, was referring to a city in Italy called Rome? Oh, come on. What kind of scholarship is that? Huh? And when the Quran refers to Rome, you translate it as Romans? Is that the correct translation? Romans? Huh? Which Dajjal is at work here? Rome in the Quran is easy to identify. It is the Christian Eastern Orthodox Church. The Eastern Orthodox Christian Church, which had established the Byzantine Empire with Constantinople as its capital. That is not Italy. Huh? This is Constantinople, which is now in Turkey. Rome is in Italy. You will make an alliance with Rome. Well, the Byzantine Empire has disappeared today, but the Eastern Orthodox Christian Church has not disappeared. The Western Church celebrate Christmas on what day? 25th of December. Huh? Does the Eastern Orthodox Christian Church celebrate Christmas on that day? No. No, not at all. Tabule. It is, I believe, the 9th of January. I may be wrong, maybe the 7th or the 8th. No, I don't think it's the 5th. Anyhow, it's a different day. So where is the Eastern Orthodox Christian Church today, if we want to find room today? Answer, the headquarters is now in Russia. If I am wrong, I invite you to correct me. And so when the Prophet ﷺ said, you will make an alliance with Rome, my answer is, it's going to be an alliance with Russia. If you have a different answer, don't send me an email. Publish your answer, please. Don't send me an email. Publish it and give the proof that Imran Hosein is wrong. I really have difficulties with all the people trying to correct me now with emails. Yes. Next question. Are there any examples of the micro-Muslim villages? There are lots of villages in the Muslim world. There are lots of kampung in Malaysia. If you don't believe me, wait for Hari Raya and try to drive on the road. Huh? You get the evidence. Hari Raya, for those who are listening to the lecture, is Eid al-Fitr, Hari Raya. So what you do is you go to a kampung, go to a village. Don't try to create a new village. No. Go to a village. And in that village, strive and struggle to establish Islam. When the Khilafah was abolished in Istanbul, there was an outstanding Islamic scholar in Turkey. His name was Saeed Nursi, and he was given the title Badi'uz Zaman. Saeed Nursi responded to the abolition of the Khilafah by recognizing that this was the work of Gog and Magog. And Saeed Nursi gave the call for 10,000 Muslim villages in the countryside, because he recognized that you could not save the cities. The Turkish people listened to him. Today the cities of Turkey are eating lahmul khinzir, pork, and drinking wine. And the Turkish armed forces are now allies of Israel and a part of NATO. But the Turkish countryside, because of the foresight of Saeed Nursi, has remained firmly Muslim. Firmly Muslim. And the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that you will conquer Constantinople. The word in the hadith is Constantinople. And because of that hadith, they changed the name of the city. Because of that hadith, they changed the name to Istanbul. I believe it was Islambul and then it became Istanbul, so that you will lose sight of this hadith. But Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam referred to that city as Constantinople, and I don't see why I should not do the same. He said that you are going to conquer Constantinople. And he said, what ni'ma hadha al-jaysh, wa ni'ma hadha al-amir. What a wonderful army that would be. And what a wonderful Amir of that army is going to be. When Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam made prophecies and predictions of future events, they nearly always pertain to Akhirul Zaman. And so I have come to the conclusion, and Allah knows best, that this hadith prophesying the conquest of Constantinople is a conquest that will occur in Akhirul Zaman. And the purpose of this conquest is to extricate Constantinople from the control of NATO. NATO's control. When that happens, then the Straits, the Bosphorus, will no longer be under NATO control. Then the Russian Navy, with their nuclear-powered submarines, can now leave the Black Sea, pass through the Bosphorus, and enter the Mediterranean Sea. And when that happens, well, Israel, you better watch out. I think that's all the questions? No more. What is your website? malayuberaja.org. Okay. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. After the salat, those of you who would like me to autograph your books can bring them to me.